Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named ℂ𝕂𝟙NG in the relationship subreddit. The post is titled, "My boyfriend is terrible at sex and I'm at my wit's end. My boyfriend and I have been together for 2 years and haven't had sex since October. Prior to this relationship, I was high libido and he has always been low libido. Admittedly, according to him, I'm his best sexual partner and can make him orgasm more intensely than he can through masturbation. When we first got together, I dedicated time to figuring out his body, giving him oral sex to determine how he likes it, and solely dedicating sessions where things were purely focused on his pleasure. He has mild erectile dysfunction, and we only had sex in missionary position for 8 months, where he terribly jackhammers me and then climaxes in 3 minutes. When we attempt any other position, he will typically lose his erection, and then I have to start the whole process again of foreplay to get him hard, only to be jackhammered again. He does perform oral sex, yet it feels as if he rushes through it to insert his penis before he loses his erection, thus making my pleasure feel tedious. He seems unsure when trying to take the lead in the bedroom and appears to prefer that I take control, do all the thinking, all of the foreplay for him, and have me lie on my back while he gets himself off or have me ride him. I've talked with him numerous times about the matter, which in the beginning he'd shut down and beat himself up because sex was an issue in all his previous relationships. He's had his hormones checked, which are normal. I've researched and suggested books for him to read, which I'm too afraid to ask if he's even bothered reading completely. In December, he brought up that we hadn't had sex since his birthday in October, and he was sexually frustrated. I was frank with him. I reiterated my dissatisfaction with our sex life, how I've been sexually frustrated for 2 years, and all of the above. Another issue that I hadn't brought up until that night is when we go out, and he suddenly started ogling other women in front of me starting around September. He'd pretend he wasn't doing it when he noticed me looking at him, and I told him how disrespectful that was to me and how it's caused me to lose some attraction to him, especially when he's as terrible at sex as he is. He apologized and legitimately hasn't ogled since, but I think me being as blunt and frank has completely killed his confidence, as he hasn't initiated sex since. There was one time he tried since, but stopped midway as if he was intimidated and let it go. How do I approach this next conversation with him? I feel as though that conversation in December destroyed his confidence and self-esteem. User Shap said, "All I'm reading is what you have been doing and researching, so I'm missing the part where you explain what he has been doing. Sex is an art and a skill that can be learned, but if he has erectile dysfunction, then he needs medicines or therapy or something. What I'm reading here is that he is just a terrible lover and quite a selfish one at that too. He is the one with the problem, not you. So why are you putting all this energy into trying to fix it when he hasn't done anything towards solving it?" User Crystal Queen said, "How many more years are you willing to waste on someone who doesn't care about your pleasure?" To this comment, User Vesivia said, "I agree, please don't do this. It's been 10 plus years for me, and while our situation is slightly different, he doesn't do anything to change the situation, or he does once and then never again. Don't be like me, waiting and hoping he'll change. He won't. Just cut him loose now." This next post was made by a user named Whimsical Empress in the AITAH subreddit. The post is titled AITA for threatening to cancel the wedding because I am jealous of my fiance's sister. I am getting married to Roy. We met in college and hit it off right away. He's handsome, charming, smart, and supportive. We fell in love and planned our entire future together. We planned where to live, how many children to have, vacations, college funds for children, retirement, etc. I love him so much. He's my soulmate and my best friend. He would tell me he's proud of me whenever I achieved something. He's super supportive of my dreams and ambitions. He'd motivate me to take up projects which I was hesitant to pursue. He'd reassure me that I'm capable and talented enough. He'd compliment me every time I got dressed to go out and tell me how lucky he was to have me as his girlfriend. Roy's father passed away when he was just 8 years old and his elder sister Kim was 10. His mother, Yami, never remarried. She's a very kind and sweet lady. I never got to know Kim as she lived in a different city for work and rarely visited us. We got engaged 8 months ago in an engagement ceremony. Kim moved back to our city and found a job here. This is when things started to get complicated. It's customary here for the girl's parents to pay for the wedding. My dad hired a wedding planner and told me to plan the wedding with them to my and Roy's liking. When we started the planning process, my future mother-in-law stayed out of it, but Kim would tag along with us wherever we went. To the florist, to the wedding planner's office, to the caterers, everywhere. I wanted it to be just me and Roy. I told him that I didn't like my future sister-in-law third-wheeling something that just the two of us must have been doing together. He told me that Kim just wanted to be involved in her brother's wedding and I should be more welcoming of her. I would have actually been okay with it if she'd keep her mouth shut and not give us her valuable input. When I chose flowers, it would be too pastel, choose a different color palette. When I would suggest a chair arrangement to the planner, she'd say, that won't give a proper view to the guests on the far left. I wanted to have coconut pudding at my wedding. It was my absolute favorite dessert growing up, and I wanted to share it with my guests on my wedding day. But guess what? No, not coconut. I'm allergic. The thing that pisses me off the most is that Roy always takes her side when it's my choice versus her choice. He wouldn't fight or anything. He'd be like, it doesn't matter which flower it's going to be as long as it's you who's my bride. Let it go, babe. It's not a huge deal. The only thing that's important is that we're marrying each other and starting a new life together. When the coconut pudding thing happened, he asked me not to be selfish as it's not just about me and it's about both of us and our families. He said Kim is family and I cannot exclude her from having the food at our wedding. I was really frustrated at this point. It's as if we're planning Kim's wedding and not mine. The final straw was when we were shopping for wedding wear. My mom picked out this beautiful green dress for me and I loved it so much. But Kim had to poke her nose here as well. She told me that green isn't my color and I should try something else. Roy agreed with her. Then I tried different dresses and finally decided on a rose gold dress that I liked too. We then started to shop for the families of the bride and groom. When it was Kim's turn, I kid you not, this woman picks out the same green dress and decides she's going to buy it. I lost it. I didn't want to make a scene there, so I walked out. Roy and I had a huge fight about this at home. He told me that green wasn't going well with my skin tone and that it suits Kim better, that I should stop acting so immature, that Kim picked that dress after I'd already picked out mine. I couldn't believe my ears. For the first time since we started planning our wedding, I noticed how he's always taking Kim's side and never mine. I couldn't believe that the man I was looking at was the same man I fell in love with. Roy and Kim shared a strong bond due to losing their father so young. They were each other's best friends and support system growing up. But that doesn't justify him taking her side when it's our wedding and our vision. Back in college when we were dating, he'd brag about his sister to anyone he could, even if that person was complimenting me. Like, if someone complimented the taste of the coffee I made, he'd say, if you think this is delicious, then you must try the coffee my sister makes, etc. It was annoying but wasn't a big deal and I let it go as I knew he was really close to her. But this time I cannot let go. It's our wedding, not Kim's wedding. I yelled at him that if this wedding is happening, then it's happening like we both envisioned it or it's not happening at all. Roy got mad at me and yelled that I was just jealous of his sister as I can never be as good as her. That I am a bitter person for holding a grudge against Kim even though she's been nothing but kind to me. That she was just trying to help, etc. I don't hold any grudge against her. I just want to have my dream wedding. Am I the asshole? Edit, I am currently at my friend's home. I cried myself to sleep after posting this. Woke up a few minutes ago and she told me that there are around 1,000 people who agree with her. I forgot to tell you all that English is not my first language, so I apologize for any grammatical mistakes. I didn't want to read the comments because I was scared of the obvious. Honestly, I just thought everyone would be telling me to cancel the wedding because he isn't right for me. But the things you've all pointed out, like the emotional incest and how she could control our future, never crossed my mind. Not once. I don't know why I couldn't see those things. I was so dumb. After reading the comments, I almost threw up looking back at our relationship. I might have ignored them because he would claim that their bond is stronger than other siblings because they lost their father and had to face hardships together. I'm so heartbroken to the point that I black out if I stand straight. This pain is too much for me to take. His mom called me on my phone, but I didn't answer. It's so overwhelming, it's difficult to breathe, and I feel claustrophobic. My friend told me I might be experiencing anxiety. We're going to go see a doctor first. I don't feel like I'm in a condition to talk to anyone. Update, this is going to be a long post. The wedding isn't happening. I'm at my home with my parents, my sister, and my best friends. We spoke for a while to put our stories together so that I get the sequence of events right. I forgot to mention my sister Maya. She works abroad and came home a week ago to help me with the upcoming wedding and also to spend time with me. The day of wedding wear shopping, Maya stayed home as she was jet lagged. My mom, 2 of my aunties, 4 cousins, 3 uncles, Roy, Kim, Yami, 2 of Roy's aunties, 2 uncles were also present. So we were like 18 people shopping for wedding wear. When I got upset and left, Roy followed me back to his home where we fought. At the store though, my mom finally couldn't hold back anymore. She yelled at Kim and called her some nasty names. Kim retorted by calling me a few nasty names. This led to a messy shouting match between Team Bride and Team Groom. Police were called and they were all escorted out of the shop. After this whole thing happened, Kim went missing. This is when I had that fight with Roy and went to stay at my friend's home. Kim wasn't answering her phone and she wasn't at any of her friends' or relatives' places. Roy and Yami searched for her everywhere as they were worried for her safety, then found her at a distant relative's house the next morning. Yami had called me to ask if I knew where Kim might have gone. At the hospital, when I was inside the doctor's office, I had a full-blown panic attack. I started to hyperventilate with a high pulse rate. I was passing out, then regaining consciousness for a few seconds before passing out again. I just remember a needle piercing my buttocks. I was knocked out for a whole day. I woke up on my bed at my parents' house. Nobody asked me anything or spoke to me about what had happened. My mom smiled sweetly at me when she saw me wake up and asked me if I wanted some coffee. Maya and I spoke about her life abroad. My dad brought me some snacks and ice cream. It felt good to put off thinking about the wedding and the fallout to a later time. Maya hugged me while I slept that night. I remember my heart feeling warm and tears running down my cheeks. She kept saying everything will be okay, have faith in God, it's okay to cry and let it all out. Next morning, I got a call from Roy. I picked up, he asked me where I was, and I said I'm at my home. He said he wants to meet me at his place to sit down and resolve the differences between us. I said, okay, I'll be there. I can move on only if I end this chapter of my life once and for all. My dad drove me, Maya, and my mom to Roy's place. Roy, Kim, Yami, and his uncle were there. I know it's silly, but I hoped Roy understood his mistakes and was going to apologize to me. And boy, was I wrong. As soon as we all sat down, Roy started yelling at me for making a scene at the wedding dress store. He went on to tell me how Kim went missing, how she was so upset because of the things my mom had said to her that she could have harmed herself, how his mom and he had to drive around the city all night in search of Kim, and how I was so heartless to not answer Yami's call. I calmly asked him where I was that night. I, like Kim, hadn't answered my phone too. I too was upset because of our fight. Did the thought of my well-being ever cross his mind? He went quiet for a few seconds, then tried to say something, fumbling his words. It didn't even make any sense. I told him that I now know who is more important to him and it's definitely not me. His uncle intervened to speak over me to my dad, saying, "Kids these days fight over the smallest things. I'm sure you can make your daughter understand how married life requires sacrifices and isn't like in the movies." My dad told him that it's my daughter's life and only she gets to decide if the issue is small or big, so let her speak to her fiance. I looked back at Roy and told him that I know that I am the side chick and he is more committed to his sister, and any person with even a shred of self-respect won't be fine with being her own husband's side chick. I said, "You are free to marry your sister at the dream wedding that she has planned." At this moment, I saw his face turn red, and before I could understand what was going on, Roy had slapped me across my face so hard that my inner cheek and my nose started to bleed. My dad punched him on his face, got him in a chokehold, and continued punching his gut. Yami, my mom, and his uncle were trying to separate my dad and Roy. Maya hugged me tightly and was tending to my bleeding nose when Kim yelled like a banshee, blaming me for something while marching up to me with her hand in the air to hit me. Maya held Kim's hand before she could hit me and backhand slapped her. Kim fell to the floor and screamed like she was being skinned alive. By this time, the neighbors came in and separated everyone. The police and ambulance came a few minutes later. Roy was bleeding from his mouth and his face looked bluish. The ambulance took him away. I was taken in another ambulance. After I was treated, I was taken to the police station where mine and Roy's family were seated, but Roy wasn't there. Yami approached me and told me that she's sorry and wished me luck for my future. The police took my statement and asked me if I wanted to press charges against Roy. I said yes. They informed me that his tooth had been knocked out and one of his ribs was broken, so there is a chance he might press charges against my dad. By midnight, we were all allowed to go home. This morning, my friends came over and we all had our breakfast together. After a lot of discussion, we decided that I need to start therapy as well as medication for my mental health. We ordered pizza for lunch and my dad kept making lame jokes. Later, my mom, me, Maya, best friend 1, and best friend 2 started reading the comments on my post. Mom was so happy about the replies to my comment about wanting to call my mom and cry. She told me that I should never worry about being vulnerable with them. I need not put on a strong front for them when I'm actually hurting inside. She said she'd wished I'd contacted her sooner. I would like to thank every single one of you who took out time to comment and show concern for a complete stranger. If it weren't for people like you, I wouldn't have seen the issues that I see so clearly now. I might have even forgiven him and ended up in a miserable marriage. I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. You all restore my faith in humanity. And for those who said that I need to grow a spine, well, yes I do, but I'd like to share my point of view. In my country, girls are taught from a very young age that girls who keep families together are good girls and girls who break families are bad ones. Even though my parents never taught me that and I have a master's degree, this concept somehow got ingrained in my brain at a very young age. That's why I wouldn't speak up to Kim. I didn't want to cause conflict between them because that's what the bad girls do. I hope therapy helps resolve it. I'm still grieving the loss of not just the past and the relationship, but also the beautiful future I dreamt of. I'm grieving the loss of the love of my life, a person who actually never existed. I know it will take time for me to heal, but I do feel lighter. My parents are over the moon, but they hide their happiness from me as they know I'm still hurting. They look like they've aged backward. Roy has been discharged from the hospital. I hope he and his sister live happily ever after. User ℂ𝕂�11NG said, I can never be as good as her. Right there is your future. Your soulmate has another soulmate that isn't you. To this comment, user Grace of the North said, this sounds so incestuous and unhealthy. It's giving me the creeps. Imagine living your life third-wheeling a marriage where your husband is in effect married to his sister. User Cat Wow Zaz said, he literally told you what he believes. Do you want to wait several years just to find out he wasn't lying? Leave. He either flat out does not respect you or has never faced a consequence for holding her relationship too close to him. It is not normal. It is enmeshment. And she is creepy for keeping it going. He is not her daddy. User Lada Addicted 25 said, don't threaten, just cancel it. This will be your life. Do you want your children to grow up believing that their mom is never good enough, that their aunt is a goddess blessing the earth with her existence? Run fast from your toxic fiance. He never respected you and never will. He already told you that there is a perfect woman and wife out there and it's not you, but his sister. He wants her, but he's ashamed to admit it. Save your father's money and years of unhappiness. Run before he completely destroys your self-esteem. This last post was made in the True Off My Chest subreddit by a user named ℂ𝕂�11NG. The post is titled, My parents told me that my sister thinks I'm a creep towards her child. I feel absolutely gutted. One of my parents slipped to me that my sister has been talking to them and some other people about her concerns that I'm being inappropriate with her kindergarten-age son. So much so that apparently she's been telling people that under no circumstances should I be left alone with her kids. For a bit of context, my sister lives in another country and we rarely see each other. My parents are struggling financially, so they haven't been able to visit their grandkids often. I've tried to make an effort to spend time with my sister and her family so they could have a connection with my sister's side of the family. I see them around once a year. She has a son and a daughter who both seem to like me, but maybe because I am a man, her son seems to like me a lot. He always wants to play sports, etc. With me, I thought he felt secure around me as he would often hug me and want to sit in my lap. I myself didn't initiate any physical touch outside of maybe putting my arm on his shoulder or picking him up from under his arms. Nothing below shoulder and arm level. Today, one of my parents mentioned that she has been discussing with them her concerns about how I act with her son, and she wants them to constantly keep an eye on me when they visit so that I wouldn't be alone with her kids. Apparently, she has discussed this with other people in our circle too. She was also asking my parents if I might be gay. I am not, and even if I were, I have no idea what that has to do with her children. The worst part about this for me is that she is a strong person, so if this were a matter of maybe just overstepping boundaries, I think she would have no problem telling me directly. The fact that she's saying this to people behind my back makes me think that she believes I am a predator. This situation makes me feel awful. I am ashamed and upset that someone would even think that about me, let alone a family member. As soon as I found out, I sent her a long message expressing how awful and disgusting it feels that she would think that of me. I also stated that I understand if she is being cautious as a parent, but we shouldn't be in any contact with each other anymore. After thinking about the whole situation for a couple of hours, I remembered that when I was a teenager, she saw a news article about some young man who stabbed a woman to death, and she went crying to our parents saying that she was afraid that's what I'll turn into. I was just a shy and awkward teenager. We generally got along okay, so I don't understand why she would think so lowly of me. Edit: to add some context, I am a completely average person who has a steady job. I have many male and female friends, and I've had long-term relationships with women. As far as I am concerned, I don't have any characteristics that would make me come off as a loner or somehow creepy. Edit 2, I got a response. She apologized about how things went down and that she meant to bring it up with me. Apparently, the issue was that she felt that things like kids sitting in my lap were okay for a 2 to 3-year-old, but not when they're 5 to 6, which made her uncomfortable. This is completely understandable to me, but a lot of trouble could have been saved by communicating this to me personally. She said it was nothing personal and hopes I can understand her one day, but with the gay comments and all, it's kind of hard not to see it that way. I'm a bit relieved that there are no serious accusations being thrown around, but I still don't think this is a mendable relationship, so I'll be staying out of her life. Thank you for all the supportive messages. Edit 3, final edit months later since people ask for updates. She occasionally sends me a message as if none of this happened. I haven't responded and don't intend to. User Wellshit said, your sister is incredibly weird and seems to have something against you. I would distance myself from her. To this comment, OP said, there was also a point in time when she didn't want our parents to see her kids because she and I had strong political disagreements with our parents. She got it into her head that they could harm their grandchildren because of these differences. Thank you for saying that distancing is the right idea. User Humphrey Bear said, damn, this reminds me of something that happened to me in high school about 15 years ago. Often we would go to my mate's girlfriend's house as it was close to the school, so it kind of became the default hangout spot for our friend group. They had 3 daughters, 2 of whom were in high school and 1 who was much younger. We would all go there and everyone would just ignore the younger daughter, obviously because she was just a kid. Who cares about a kid, right? But I always made an effort to include her with little things like asking about her TV shows or talking about her dolls and stuff. One day I went there and everyone just seemed cold toward me. I didn't quite understand what was happening until my mate told me that her parents had seen me getting close to the younger daughter and assumed I had nefarious intentions. This absolutely devastated me. It is not who I am at all, and I would never inflict any kind of harm of that nature on anyone, let alone a child. Safe to say, I stopped going around there and I haven't let myself be nice to children since in case anyone got the wrong idea. It's not a nice feeling. To this OP said, I resonate with that feeling of not wanting to be nice around children because of an accusation. It could be that it's because this just happened, but this has severely affected my desire to be around any children or to have any of my own. Hopefully, the feeling of not wanting kids because of this goes away with time. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, GamerSupps. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase, link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.